Hey guys, this is Chris with Financial Fitness, and I just got through interviewing Rob Kientz with Gold Silver Pros. I'm going to leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description below. We covered some ground in this interview. I'm going to break it up in about 3 or 4 different videos to put it in bite-sized pieces because I don't want you to miss anything we talked about. And before I get started on the interview, I want to let you know about the Red Pill Expo that's going on in Lafayette, Louisiana on November 6th and 7th. We're going to talk about things that we cannot talk about here on YouTube. I hope I see you there. Like and subscribe, ring the bell. Let's go. Hey guys, this is Financial Fitness, and this is Rob Kientz. I did not get to meet him at the Silver Symposium, but I did get to see him speak. And I was really impressed with him, and I wanted to get an interview because he's a wealth of knowledge on China and how they're stealing intellectual property. And there's so much crap going on right now. There's things sliding under the radar that we're not paying attention to. It's easy. It's very easy to miss things. Mm-hmm. And China, I'm telling you, China's playing chess, and maybe we were playing checkers, and Joe Biden's probably playing bingo. So, there's a lot to cover, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. Would you like to talk about how China is stealing intellectual property and what the heck's going on with that? Would you like to talk about China and their crypto stuff? I mean, there's a multitude of things. Yeah. South China Sea, Spratly Islands. It is just, give me the fire hose.
So China's emerging as a world power, and it's something that people really need to pay attention to. I've been talking about them since I wrote about them in my book. The first thing I did before I ever did any of this stuff is I just wrote a book. I guess I woke up to the world in about 2008, 2009 during the financial crisis, wrote a book, which was just a way for me to organize my thoughts and put them on paper. And then that kind of launched everything, where I became an analyst and wrote and now, have my own show and everything. But back then I was researching China. I was like, holy cow, look at all the stuff that they were doing. They were building giant cities when nobody lived in back then, because they were building the infrastructure for tomorrow. And this is the way that the Chinese government thinks. They build infrastructure for what they're going to need in 10 years, not what they need right now. And it's very expensive, but it's also a brilliant way to plan out your economy in terms of making sure that you have what you need. So they were building cities. They were buying tons of gold. And I wrote in the book, it wouldn't surprise me if they backed their currency with gold to make it more attractive than, say, the dollar or the pound or these other currencies.
So, and they were. Are they still buying about 200 tons of gold a month?
Yeah, they're buying a lot. They buy all their internal production. They're one of the largest gold producers in the world, and they go out to the market and buy a bunch. And that's not only the government. The government buys it, but a lot of what's produced over there, the people buy it. So the Chinese culture values gold. And so they have a lot of gold. So I think they have, probably a more stable currency. But some of the other things they're doing, the way that they built their economy so quick, because China was down and out for a long time. They've become very xenophobic. I took a class in college on China from a gentleman that was a professor in China, came over to the US to teach. And he was telling us about how the Cultural Revolution and Mao Zedong basically destroyed a lot of Chinese middle class, and it was just horrible. And so they were living in really tough times. And what they figured out was, it's going to take us forever to rebuild. So what we're going to do is go steal stuff. So you mentioned the intellectual theft. Well, I've worked in cybersecurity for a long time, and I was working for one of the telecom companies, and I was doing research for a project. And I came across this story about how China had stolen Nortel's intellectual property, all their products that they use. And Nortel at the time, people may not remember this, it's, the company's gone now, but they were the biggest telecom in North America. They were worth, in today's dollars, about $500 billion. They were as big as, if you put AT&T and Verizon together in the US, that would be Nortel back then. They were like 1/3 of the entire Toronto Stock Exchange in Canada. They were the big dog. And what Nortel did, China did, they took their military, in which they fund these cyber espionage groups called APT1 by Mandiant, which is a security firm. And they have a bunch of them. And then they go steal information And then they take that information and they try to reverse engineer it and build products or build things. So in this case, they stole all of Nortel's technology and gave it to Huawei. And so Huawei now is a major player in the global telecom market. They do deals all over the world. They're a huge company. And in fact, I know somebody that used to work for the company I work for that now works in China for Huawei. So they import talent. But they took that Nortel's product, they engineered it, and then they went and stole all Nortel's customers. And this is how they get business. And this is how they get knowledge, is they know it would have taken them 100 years to catch up to the West. So they just go and steal it. They steal it through cybersecurity. They steal it through inviting companies to do business in China and then making deals where we have to teach the Chinese how to do it so that they capture all of that knowledge, and then they can do it on them. And then they take it and they do it themselves. And then they'll give the company a hard time and eventually kick them out. So the American or the Western company goes in thinking, I'm going to get this, billion. There's a billion people here. I'm going to get this huge market. This Chinese middle class, which is about 200 million people right now. It's huge, right? But what happens is Chinese steal their technology and then they make it hard for them to do business, and then they run their competing product, and that's how they build their companies. And
the bait and switch.
Basically bait and switch. So the China is a big threat. They're constantly using different ways of stealing from the West, and people in the West, honestly, the governments and the companies are stupid because they keep going back to China, even though this happens over and over.
Yeah. Well, it's the greed thing, I guess. I guess it's happened for so long. People have been using China for cheap goods and cheap this, and they'll lie when the truth would do better. I mean, you can't trust anything they say.